Today we'll continue our lesson in chapter 12, Renaissance and Reformation, and we are doing section 2, and we are in the final lesson of this section, Legacy in the Arts and Sciences. Have your textbooks ready, or you can log into our website, lodausd.net, Clever, and from Clever, Cengage Learning, and from Cengage Learning, log in with your student account, and that is our World History book, National Geographic Learning. And from the left side, it should be Unit 5. And from Unit 5, Chapter 12, Section 2, Lesson 4, pages 342 to 343. Legacy in the Arts and Science. This chapter's essential question is, how did new ways of thinking transform European culture? And the objective of this lesson is to discuss how Renaissance advances in the arts and sciences continue to influence thinking today. Again, during the Renaissance, many advances were made in the arts and sciences. Lesson 2.4 discusses how many of these advances continue to influence thinking today. Now, this is interesting. Did you know that the Renaissance influenced many modern developments? For example, GPS technology owes a debt to the advances of Renaissance scientists made in map making. Studies of the human body in the 1500s paved the way for today's medical imaging techniques. And as for the arts, if you travel to almost any state capital, you will see dome that resembles Brunelleschi's Duomo. The Renaissance left us a living legacy. Well, to give you an additional background or information, some Renaissance scientists studied ancient math texts and expanded on the ideas in them. Well, they developed many of the math symbols that people use for today. For example, they developed the symbols for positive and negative numbers as well as the square root symbol. They also developed mathematical formulas that help architects and engineers design stronger buildings. During the Renaissance, scientists also made advances in making clocks that could keep time more accurately than before. For example, as far as architecture, Renaissance architects revived ancient Greek and Roman ideas to build and perfect such structures as domes and arches and columns. Regarding arts, Renaissance artists' realistic portrayal of individuals and the use of perspective had influenced modern and contemporary artists. Writers, philosophers, and even entertainers definitely influence a lot of aspiring writers of our time today, such as William Shakespeare, Cervantes, and Niccolo Machiavelli. They lived centuries ago, and their influence is still felt in our time today. Renaissance made its impact on science as well. So some historians say that Gutenberg's printing press is the greatest invention for the past 1,000 years. More significant than the computer or the internet or iPhones. The printing press made it possible for people all around the world to share, study, and challenge others' ideas. I talked about the influence in mathematics, natural world, astronomy. So as far as natural world is concerned, Renaissance thinkers were very influential to this area. Some scientists learned about the metals and minerals that make up Earth's surface. And they also studied astronomy and gained new understanding of the wider universe and the Earth's place in it. Da Vinci's anatomical sketches in 1543 and Vesalius' illustration of the human body help us understand about the function of the human body and how it affects our behavior. And it is really something that is so helpful in the development of medicine and science in general. Furthermore, scientific ideas were also applied in cartography or map making during the Renaissance. So using these new ideas, exploration by men such as Christopher Columbus continued to improve the accuracy of map. Exploration also opened up new lands to colonization and settlement. The legacy of this event is still felt today. At the bottom, you will see images that demonstrate the legacy of the Renaissance. So if you will compare these images during the Renaissance with its modern counterpart, what are the similarities and the differences in each pair? For example, the first picture or first pair here, we have the sculpture created by Michelangelo, which is David, as compared to the statue of MLK Jr. as his memorial. So, and then the next one, we have the Capitol building dome in Washington, D.C., and we also have a comparison of that to Brunelleschi's Duomo. And then, of course, we have the illustration of Leonardo da Vinci as compared to an actual X-ray scan of a skull. So these are the legacies. If you will compare them side by side, you will see that indeed the Renaissance way of thinking as far as arts and science and other areas are concerned, their influence is still really is visible and felt in our time today. So there you have it. That summarizes the impact of the Renaissance to modern day thinking and specifically in arts and sciences. Now let's go to the review and assess questions. For number 1, reading check. What were some of the important scientific advances made during the Renaissance? What are these advances? And number 2, let's compare and contrast. In what ways was the impact of Gutenberg's printing press similar to of the internet? And number 3, make connections. How have Renaissance advances in cartography affected modern life? And cartography is highlighted, emboldened in our lesson today. So that's it for lesson 2.4, Legacy in the Arts and Sciences. Go ahead, go to our Google Classroom and find the Review and Assess assignment, Chapter 12, Section 2. And complete this assignment. And this is the last slide. Go ahead, fill up all the basic information, last name, first name, class period, and date. And there is just one key vocab. Ignore the number 2. And all you have to do is put the definition of the key vocab, of course, the title of the lesson, and your answers to the review and assess questions on the right side. Of course, correct responses with complete sentences will get a full credit. Be sure that you are filling in all the information that I'm asking you to put here so that you will always get the full credit. So again, that's Chapter 12, Section 2.4. Legacy in the Arts and Sciences.